Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Can you hear
Prabhu.
me loud and clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mother. Hare Krishna, everyone. I welcome you and invite you to this initiation course lectures, second of three lectures for the overview of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. I welcome you for and on behalf of Radha Govinda Temple, Bangalore, and indeed for and on behalf of His Grace Sri Namarishta Das Prabhuji. Let us begin with prayers and then we'll begin with the start the class. Om Agnan Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sabitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagar Dalita Shri Vishakhanvitascha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. These are the three slokas which are always spoken and sang before we begin Srimad Bhagavatam anywhere. And these three slokas are asked in the interview also. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudire Surnatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hradayanta Stoya Bhadrani Vidunoti Surastata Nashtapraeshva Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Right. This is the second class, and I would repeat the instructions that I gave you at the end of the first class, in the beginning of the first class. You need to pay your full attention because today what we are going to discuss about Narada Muni, about Kunti Maharani, and about Vishwadeva are three questions usually asked in interview. Second thing is, please keep noting down important points in your notebook so that you could revise them. And third, If you have any questions, please note it down and ask at the end of the session so that the flow of thinking and presentation continues in an understanding manner. With this, I'll start now the revision of the last day, that was last Saturday, about first, second, and third chapter. The first chapter, first three verses are called Mangalacharan, and those were the three verses which were describing the attributes of Lord Sri Krishna, and about Srimad Bhagavatam and the history, and lastly, an invitation to relish Srimad Bhagavatam. The subsequent part of the three chapters mainly got around 6 questions that were asked by sages who gathered at Naimisharanya. And these sages had their leader known as Saunaka Rishi. And Saunaka Rishi was asking questions to Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami is the disciple of Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami is son and disciple of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is the one who compiled Srimad Bhagavatam when Lord was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. With this background, now let us go to next chapters. The fourth chapter is the appearance of Sri Narada. This forms the second part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first part being first three chapters, and the second part is up to seventh chapter. It has mainly 4 segments. The breakdown of the sessions are like this. In this chapter, there is a further questions by Saunaka Rishi and the sages to Sutta Goswami. Reply is given by Sutta Goswami up to text 14. Srila Vyasadeva divides the Veda, taking compassion upon people of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is where the people will have shorter life, shorter memories, short understanding, and everything short than what you get in Satyuga. Vyasadeva's dissatisfaction and contemplation that goes on from 26 to 31st verses. Narada Muni visits Vyasadeva. So these are the main 5 sections. Now the questions asked by Saunaka Rishi. Question number 1, questions about history of Srimad Bhagavatam. This question has 4 parts: when, where, how, and on whose inspiration did Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. Second question is about Maharaj Parikshit, a person who is a hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shravanam. And the questions are his birth, his activities, and renunciation. Third question is about questions about Shukadeva Goswami, the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami heard Srimad Bhagavatam from his spiritual master and father Vyasadeva, who is the most competent authority who compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. And so Shukadeva Goswami is the first student of Sri Vyasadeva. How was he perceived at Hastinapur? Sukadeva Goswami. Second question is how did his meeting with Parikshit take place? Sukadeva Goswami's first student had been Parikshit Maharaj. So you can understand the parampara. The Lord Krishna gave Vyasadeva through Narad Muni, and Vyasadeva compiled this literature of Srimad Bhagavatam, which subsequently went to Sukadeva Goswami, his first disciple. Sukadeva Goswami then taught it to Sutta Goswami. These are the three people whose qualifications we are examining. Saunaka Rishi, who is a leader at Naimisharanya sages meeting. He is elderly, he is head of the assembly, and he is a learned fellow. These are the qualifications that he has. The qualifications of Srila Sukadeva Goswami. He is Mahayogi, a great devotee. Samadrak, that means equibalanced. Then he is absolutely modest, had realized Brahman, and he was a Kanta Matihi, one pointed attention, and surpassed all the science. Glories and glorifications of Maharaj Parikshit. He is a first-class devotee of Lord Krishna. His birth and activities were wonderful. He was dutiful and detached. He inherited his grandfather, that is Yudhishthir's kingdom, yet was not attached to the wealth and opulence of the kingdom. Followed the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and then why should he give up all these favorable circumstances and sit down on the bank of Ganges, fasting till death, is a question asked at the end. Subsequent text 17 and 18 is describing the human qualities in Kali Yuga, and 19 and 20 describes the division of Veda. That's very important. Pay your full attention here. Seeing that sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas are a means of purification, to simplify and expand them among the people of Kali Yuga, he divided one big Veda into four. The history and authentic stories in the Puranas are called Fifth Veda. When Lord Brahma first spoke the four Vedas with his four mouths, the mantras were mixed together like an unsorted collection of various types of jewels. Srila Vyasdeva sorted the Vedic mantras into four divisions called Samhitas, which thus became recognizable as Rigveda, Atharveda, Yajurveda, and Samveda, with their respective professors. Paila Rishi for Rigveda, Jaimini Rishi for Atharveda, Vaisambapanyana for Yajurveda, and Angira for Samaveda, and Roma Harshana for the fifth yoga. These rishis or professors passed their entrusted Vedas to their disciples, grand disciples, and thus many branches of the yoga came in existence. He thus edited the Vedas to help, he means the Vyasadeva, to help the less intelligent assimilate them and attain the ultimate goal. He also compiled the Mahabharata for Stri, Sudra, and Dvija Bandhus. These are the three people in population who are considered not qualified to hear Vedas. However, Vyasadeva's mind was dissatisfied in spite of engaging himself in working for the welfare of all. He thus began to reflect on this. In spite of writing so many scriptures and literature for the well-being and betterment of the public, he was not feeling satisfied in his soul and mind. Text 18 to 29 describes the efforts of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva underwent strict disciplinary vows, unpretentiously worshipping the Vedas, Guru, and the altar of sacrifice, abided by the rulings, and exhibited import of disciplic succession through Mahabharata. So he was strictly following all these things, and still he was not getting the satisfaction that he should get. The dissatisfaction, though Vyasadeva is fully equipped with everything, he was not feeling complete. The possible reason this may be because Vyasadeva has not pointed out devotional service or Bhagavat Dharma, which is dear to both the perfect beings and infallible Lord. Perfect beings are those who are liberated souls, and infallible Lord is Lord Krishna himself. The outcome of despondency. The despondency was found in Vyasadeva, the second picture of Arjuna, the third picture of Devahuti in front of Kapila Muni, and despondency of Yudhishthir Maharaj after the Kurukshetra war. Conclusion is, Lord puts his own devotees into bewilderment so that something would come out for the welfare of the people in general. So this is the reason why the dissatisfaction comes about in devotees. So we learned about Vyasadeva's dissatisfaction. We go to the next chapter. I'm telling you all those that is very important to you. And these are coming as questions in interviews. Chapter 5 is Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. Again, it falls into the middle segment of history of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are mainly 4 topics to discuss. Chapter summary, Sri Narada's inquiries and Srila Vyasadeva response. That is first 7 verses. Sri Narada reveals to Srila Vyasadeva the importance of describing Lord Krishna's pastimes. Narad Muni narrates his past life. Sri Narada advises Srila Vyasadeva. In summary, chapter 5 basically establishes the supremacy of bhakti against the process of kama and jnana. It shows how to reveal one's heart in confidence to one's guru and take shelter of one's guru. Srila Vyasadeva's attitude of being an exemplary disciple. About the despondency, Vyasadeva is despondent, Narada Muni is smiling because this is where Narada Muni descends to talk to Vyasadeva. He is smiling after seeing the despondency of Vyasadeva. The black saint that you see is Vyasadeva, and the one with the saffron colored clothes is with Narad Muni. He is smiling not to cause embarrassment, but to make sure that his disciple knows that he knows what is going on. The root cause of despondency, knowledge limited to just taking care of body and mind and neglecting the needs of the soul. So up till now, whatever had been talked was talked about the body and mind and not about the soul. Vyasadeva here comparing Narad Muni to sun, air, and super soul. And ultimately, Vyasadeva surrenders to Narad Muni, saying, I will listen to what you say rather than my own understanding. Narada glorifies the Vyasadeva's work and then talks about his despondency. Vyasadeva admits his despondency and glorifies Narada. After Narada's assessment and diagnosis of despondency in 8 to 16, and then really reveals the importance of describing Krishna's pastimes to Vyasadeva in 17 to 22 verses. So, in other words, this chapter is mainly around diagnosis and assessment of the despondency of Narada and its solutions by Narada, of Vyasadeva and solution by Narada. There are two defects in Vyasa's work. Insufficient glorification of the Lord, that's number one, and overemphasis of four Purushartha. Which are these Purushartha? Dharma, Arth, Kam, and Moksha. In other words, spotless glories of Lord and philosophy that satisfies transcendental sense of Lord is absent. Two categories of literature are found: materialistic literature, which is considered as for the crow-like people, and transcendental literature, which is for people like swan. The literature must have Hare Yaso, that is glories of the Krishna, and discussion must conclude in Krishna. He describes all paths of realization and praying all demigods. Vyasadeva should actually emphasize that bhakti is the only valuable asset. Miseries and mixed happiness in different degrees and qualities are two features of material life. But progress in bhakti is credited forever, no loss even in fall down. Instruction to Vyasadeva now at the end of all this is glorify the Lord more vividly. All branches of knowledge should be applied in service of the Krishna. So these two sentences are most important. Vyasadeva is instructed that you glorify the Lord more vividly. and use knowledge of all the branches to serve Krishna. This is the times and life of Narada Muni. Narada Muni narrates his past lives. Narada Muni was actually a Gandharva, he was a Gandharva in Gandharva Loka, who are most beautiful people playing music. He was doing his sense gratification and was caught by Prajapati, and thus he was cursed to become Sudra. However, in the next life, he became Sudra, the son of a maid house servant. He served Bhakti Vedantis. The sages bestowed to Narada the most confidential knowledge about Lord. While he was serving, beautifully explains what happens. Traveling Bhakti Vedantis stayed over for Chaturmasa at a place where mother of Narada Muni was a maid servant. He served them well, took their remnant food as prasadam with their permission, and listened to their instructions. 14 progressive stages of bhakti was taught to him by Bhaktivedantis. Learning from Lord Narada's life. The wonder of an atmosphere surcharged with devotional service to Lord, the most insignificant parentage, not properly educated, but still he became an immortal sage because of engaging all his energy in the service of the Lord. This is what we are learning from Narada's life. Sri Narada Muni exemplified the service of the Lord begins with the service of the Lord's bona fide servants. The pure devotees of the Lord, that is Bhaktivedantis, are impartial in distributing bhakti. The discipline followed by Narada Muni, even as a small boy, is very significant for the progress in spiritual path. Importance of spiritual training and culture right from the childhood is a process of successful family planning. The boy became infected with devotees' qualities of purity by their association and by eating the remnants of the food material. The infection meaning to imbibe the taste of pure devotion, always in the transcendental activities of the Lord. Now, Narada at the end of the chapter is advising Vyasadeva. He is from 33 to 36 verses, he is talking about Karma Yoga, engaging activities in the Lord's service. This kind of Karma Yoga is popularly known as Nishkam Karma Yoga. To dedicate one's activities to the service of the Lord. This is usually coming as a question. Thus, a material thing is at once turned into spiritual force as matter is empowered in the service of the spirit and elevate ourselves to the spiritual plane without any misery, lamentation, or fear. The propensity for enjoyment may be turned into desire for serving the mission of the Lord. This is Karma Yoga. While performing all kinds of duties, one can constantly remember the Lord's name, fame, qualities, and pastimes. Verse 37 to 40 describes Lord's activity as sound vibrations, hearing or shravana. Hearing Lord's name, fame, qualities, and pastime will satisfy the hankering of the great learned man and at the same time mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people who are always suffering from material pain. The next chapter is conversation between Narada and Vyasadeva. Again, this is a sixth chapter which comes in the middle segment. There are six different things that we talk about, and in the summary of a chapter, Srila Vyasadeva inquires further about Narada's life. Sri Narada speaks about his mother's departure, Narada's life, meditation, and vision of the Lord. The Lord instructs and consoles Narada, Narada's complete perfection. And lastly, Narada's conclusion and departure from Srila Vyasadeva's ashram. The summary of chapter 6 is Srila Vyasadeva inquires further about Narada's progress. What are the questions asked? What did you do after departure of Bhaktivedantis who initiated you? This is popularly known as Sadharma Prucha. This is the question asked to Narada by the sages or asked for Narada. How did you pass your life and attain this body? And third question, how did you remember what that which happened prior to this day of Brahma, as time destroys everything? So they are asking, how did Narada remember all these things when that was in the previous time or Kala? Sri Narada speaks about his mother's departure, and he was actually fully dependent on the mother when one evening, one night, the snake bites the mother's mother and she died. And immediately Narada starts walking to the north. Narada's life and vision of the Lord travels through the varieties of the Lord's creation. Narada meditates on the super soul and sees the Lord and loses that form. The Lord instructs and consoles Narada. When the Lord is being seen by Narada Muni, Narada Lord says, "You can't see me again in this lifetime." And then he says, even little bhakti is also great. Even time factor cannot destroy it. Sri Narada then completes the perfection and gets his spiritual body when he leaves his material body at a spark of a moment. And then subsequently he traveled everywhere, glorifying the Lord with his veena or a musical instrument. And Lord appears in his heart whenever he chants. 34 to 38 verses describe Sri Narada's conclusion and departure for Srila Vyasadeva from Srila Vyasadeva's ashram. The next chapter is the son of Drona being punished. This is the seventh chapter, and you know the seventh chapter is at a borderline. Up to 11 verses, it is describing Srimad Bhagavatam, and from 12 verses onward, it is the history of Maharaj Parikshit. And so there are 5 topics that are described. Srila Vyasadeva's inspiration for compiling Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Vyasadeva teaches Srimad Bhagavatam to Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami's study of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's where Srimad Bhagavatam history ends and begins the Parikshit Maharaj from 12 verse onward. How Parikshit Maharaj renounced his glorious kingdom, his birth, activities, and departure. Events leading to the birth of Parikshit Maharaj, that is number 1. Lamentation of Pandava's dead sons, will be seen in detail. Arjuna captures Aswathama, solving the dilemma regarding punishment to be meted out to Aswathama. So overview of chapter 7, first 7 verses describes Srimad Bhagavatam and questions being answered, questions of Saunaka Rishi answered by Sutta Goswami. And it also describes the vision that Narad Muni had of the Lord along with the Maya and along with suffering of Jiva. Subsequently, 8 to 11 verses describe Srila Vyasadeva teaching Srimad Bhagavatam to Sukadeva Goswami, and Sukadeva Goswami studies the Bhagavatam. Sukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul or realized soul, but still he loved to hear Srimad Bhagavatam because even Atmaramas are those Paramhamsas who are the supreme devotees or the great devotees who remain very happy with themselves. Now we are looking at an incident where Pandava's sons were killed soon after the war was over, and this was done by Aswathama. Killing of Draupadi's sons by Aswathama, and Draupadi obviously laments. Arjuna immediately takes vows and captures Aswathama. Aswathama releases Brahmastra, and Arjuna immediately prays to Lord Krishna for Brahmastra. Lord responds, Aswathama has caused this, and instructs Arjuna to counteract Brahmastra with his own weapon. Arjuna also releases Brahmastra and then takes back his Brahmastra along with Aswathama's Brahmastra. And so both are retrieved back. Now, the dilemma is regarding the punishment to Aswathama. And this part usually comes as a question. Lord Krishna supports killing of Aswathama because he did a heinous work of killing Pandava's sons. Arjuna looks at the Krishna and passes his test, but mild, gentle-natured Draupadi argues against killing Aswathama, saying that Aswathama has a mother and I am left weeping for my children. Why should I allow killing of Aswathama so that his mother also weeps for him? There are agreements and disagreements from Draupadi's judgment. ultimately, Arjuna removes this controversy by immediately shivering Aswasthama's jewel and hairs
Hare
without
Krishna
killing him.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
we are not seeing any
Yes,
slide.
but
Screen is
what
not
happened?
seen. We are not seeing any screen. The
Since how long have you not been seeing?
for almost 15 minutes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, since the 5th chapter, we are not able to view your screen, Prabhuji.
Okay.
After Narad Muni's scream.
Yeah, anyway, those are the texts, but then I'll do that again. New share. Okay. Can you see the screen now?
No, Prabhuji.
No?
No, Prabhuji.
No, Prabhuji, can't see.
Yeah, I can understand. Can you see it now? No?
Yes, Prabhuji. Now
Yes.
Good, good. Thank you. Please let me know immediately as soon as something different happens. Anyway, those are the texts, and I told you, so you got the message very clear. So Arjuna actually takes a middle path, removes the jewel of the Aswatthama along with his hairs, and leaves him alone to suffer. The next chapter is prayers of Kunti Maharani and Parikshit Maharaj saved. This chapter is very important. Prayers of Maharani Queen Kunti is very popular amongst the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and most of the people who are initiated and who are brahmacharis, they always have these prayers by their heart. So just pay a little more attention. As you know, this is the last part of the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto and is described in four ways. Krishna pacifies Pandavas. Lord Krishna saves Maharaj Parikshit into the womb. Krishna establishes Yudhishthir's glory. Uttara cries out for help from Lord Krishna, who is departing for Dwarka. Lord Krishna counteracts the Brahmastra with Sudarshan Chakra, and Lord's inconceivable power of protecting embryo. He covers the embryo completely inside the womb of Uttara, and thus the heat and radiation is prevented from affecting the embryo of Parikshit Maharaj. Then from 18 to 44, there are 27 verses, which is Queen Kunti's prayers. We'll see them separately. The Lord's interaction with aggrieved Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir implores departing Krishna, couldn't be convinced by anyone, and Maharaj Yudhishthir laments. Because he laments at the end of the Kurukshetra war, feeling that all was done and so many people were killed just for him to become the emperor. So he thinks that all these things are done for his sense gratification, which is wrong. Queen Kunti's prayers are divided 27 verses, and they are divided into 6 major segments. First 3 verses, 18, 19, and 20, are knowing the Lord. You are the Supreme Lord, sitting, existing inside and outside, invisible because you are covered by Maya. And even Paramahansas do not know you. So how can a woman like me know? I am fortunate, that's what she says, because Devaki and Vasudeva are also fortunate. I am fortunate because you saved, I could see your lotus form, and I am more fortunate because you saved my children, but not Devaki's children. You protected us from various calamities. That's what she is talking in verse 24. Most important is verse 25. And so far as you remember this line, let those calamities come repeatedly so that we may see you again and again. That is her prayer. She says that Krishna was always present when there were calamities. And so she would wish that let there be calamities in the life so that we can keep seeing you again and again. And then she says that akinchana gocharam means those intoxications may never come to our life. Which are these? Janma, that is birth in a opulent family, Aishwarya, that is opulence, Shruti, that is higher education, and Shri, that is the wealth. And lastly, she says, you are equal to all as time and controller. If you stop seeing the slide, please let me know. I'm manipulating my bar all the time for you to see the slide, and that's why probably this is happening. The Lord's nature is inconceivable and bewildering. No one understands Lord fully. He is Aja, but he takes birth. He is Akartuha, but he acts. Fear is afraid of you because you are the fear is afraid of you, but you are afraid of Yashoda Mata, which is bewildering. Opinion on Lord's birth, and then appeal for the more association. So these are the Queen Kunti's prayers, and verse 25 is the most popular verse, where she says that she would like to have the calamities so that she can keep seeing Lord Krishna all the time. And what verse 26, where those intoxicants she would never like to have. The ninth chapter is passing away of Vishwadeva in presence of Lord Krishna. In this chapter, the most important part is the part of Bhishma's instructions to Pandavas. Vishwadeva is considered to be the most learned devotee of the Lord, and he had always been following the rule of the law. This chapter is divided into various segments. The first segment is Bhishma welcomes everyone assembled at the deathbed. Bhishma Deva had multiple arrows piercing his body, and when ultimately he falls, he rests his body on the arrows, and on this arrow bed he is lying in Kurukshetra. This is where all the sages of the world and the saints come to pay their tributes to Bhishmadeva. Bhishmadeva had been the Mahabharata and the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna. It was his role to play against him that was destined. Otherwise, he had affectionately liked and loved Lord Krishna more than anyone else. The 12 to 17 verses are that Bhishmadeva actually encourages and pacifies Pandavas by sympathizing them with their sufferings in the life. Influence of irreversible time, he says, is the cause, and says to Pandavas to accept the inconceivable plan of the Lord and to follow it. Bhismadeva then glorifies Krishna, his position, and he is the supreme ultimate Lord. The most important part is Bhismadeva's instruction to Yudhishthira about various dharmas and purusharthas he describes with their historical examples. Dharmas explained in brief detail includes Varnashram Dharma, Vairagya Dharma, Raga Dharma, Dana Dharma, Raja Dharma, Moksha Dharma, Stri Dharma, and Bhagavad Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma, Bhishmadeva says, being the best of all the dharmas. Then the final moments of Bhishmadeva comes. Bhishmadeva concentrates on Lord Krishna and his Parthasarthi form, and ultimately he departs and leaves this world. Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. When Lord is departing, two things happens. The Hastinapur he leaves, and that's why Hastinapur describes Lord Krishna in separation, whereas he reaches Dwarka, and so Dwarka is describing Lord Krishna in union. Departure of Lord Krishna from Dwarka, kingdom of Maharaj Yudhishthir, Krishna re-establishes this kingdom and Yudhishthir rules with perfect knowledge. The kingdom prospers and everybody in the kingdom is a happy subject. Intensity of Lord Krishna's attractive influence, and Lord Krishna was appropriately honored. And then the ladies of Hastinapur describes the glories of Lord Krishna. These glories are: he talks pleasingly, more attractive than Vedic hymns. Krishna is the original personality of the Godhead, empowers Prakriti for recreation. Devotees experience the Lord's form and describe his pastimes. Lord descends into the material world to punish miscreants. Yadu dynasty, Mathura, Dwarka, Queen, and Gopis are glorious, and Lord smiled and accepted their glories. Lord ultimately proceeds to Dwarka. Yudhishthira arranges defense for Krishna's protection and accompanied him for a distance. Lord passes through various provinces on his way. Chapter 11 is Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarka. It'll take 5 or 7 minutes more. Lord Krishna's conch shell sound heralds his arrival. This conch shell sound actually threatens, even fear personified, and dispels disaction of citizens. Then ultimately citizens welcome Lord Krishna, decorates on Lord Krishna, they have decorated the city of Dwarka. Lord reciprocation with reception, and Lord's attractive beauties are described. The reciprocation with mother headed by Devaki and dealings with queens. Queens in the palaces rejoicing, embracing him in their hearts, feeling a new experience. And this is considered to be inconceivable pastime of the Lord. Then in detail they describe the transcendental character of the Lord. The last chapter for today is Birth of Emperor Parikshit. Saunaka Rishi inquires about Parikshit. We want to hear about birth, activities, death, and destination of Parikshit, who was saved in the womb of Uttara. Yudhishthira's exemplary rule, and then Lord Krishna protects child Parikshit in the womb. The ceremonies are then done during Parikshit's birth, and Lord of Yudhishthira performs birth rites and gives charity to Brahmana. Brahmanas predict Parikshit's future qualities. Child will be known as Vishnu Rata and would be a first-class devotee. Yudhishthira inquired about child's future qualities and Parikshit's future qualities compared to that of famous personalities. We will take advantage of death, notice, and submit to hearing process. He was cursed that by a Brahmana boy. Parikshit Maharaj was cursed and given 7 days to live. The curse was that within 7 days, Parikshit Maharaj would die. He takes up the curse, doesn't object it at all, and sits down at Ganges, relinquishes his kingdom, and fasts for 7 days so that he can listen to Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami continuously for all 7 days and all 7 nights without getting up from that place. Parikshit's growth and Yudhishthira's performance of Yagna, Parikshit's constant search for the Lord while he was growing. Parikshit Maharaj, when he was in the womb of Uttara, the Lord Krishna himself entered the womb and protected Parikshit Maharaj. That's when Parikshit Maharaj saw Lord Krishna. And that's why when he was born, from that day onward, he is looking at everyone, trying to see whether he is Lord Krishna. And that's why his name was Parikshit. He is trying to examine whether the person in front of him is Lord Krishna, what he saw in his embryo form. Yudhishthira performed horse sacrifices under Krishna's direction, and Krishna returns to Dwarka with Arjuna. We have completed up to 12 chapters, and last 7 chapters remain, which we will complete next time. There are important messages. I have stretched the chapter where the questions are asked and flew over the areas which are not very relevant for the question purpose. My gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON and Radha Govinda Temple, Bengaluru. Gratitude to all my loving teachers, Namarishta Das Prabhuji, Aishwarya Subhadra Mataji, Prema Kishori Mataji, etc. and Prana Chaitanya Prabhuji. My obeisances and Dandavat Pranam to all of you devotees. Any question, revelation, addition, queries, you please can raise your hands and we can take one by one. We still have some minutes. We're finishing 1 hour in next 2-3 minutes. Any question, any revelation? We have covered 3 most important areas. Lifetime of Narad Muni, which is frequently asked. The second is the Kunti Mata's prayers, and I told you the 2 relevant verses, 25 and 26 verses. is usually asked, and Bhishmadeva's instructions to Pandavas and Bhishmadeva's solas to Pandavas, saying that whatever difficulties that you faced in your life are not your karmic reaction. You didn't have bad karmas in previous life at all. It is just the Kala that has inflicted those miseries on you. And Lord's plans are inconceivable. And so, rather than trying to understand Lord's plan, just follow the plan and you will be happy. The instruction that he gives is various ashramas, varnashramas, etc., and the dharmas involved in it. But ultimately, he says it is the Bhagavad Dharma, which is the most important and essential dharma to follow. I hope I am making myself very clear. I plan to spend 15 minutes in the questions that are usually asked next time and give you the list of questions that were asked to me that will help you prepare yourself for the initiation. Takes about an hour, and people who are taking interview are very serious. They really give you the plus or minus on your merits. And it's worth having an interview which actually will make you understand where you stand in your spiritual capacity. Rupa Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is it possible to
Hare
share
Krishna Mataji.
like in the group, WhatsApp group, so that we can refer to this?
What, Mataji?
Is it possible
Sorry,
to share?
your voice was...
Is it possible to share the slides, Prabhuji, in WhatsApp group?
Certainly, we'll do that. Let me
Okay.
finish. I'll have to sort out some things. Let me finish and then I'll share it. No problem.
Okay, Prabhuji.
No
Thank you.
issues. Yeah.
Want us to read?
Eh,
Maybe you can, tell us, and we will be able to. Because
Mataji,
that
your voice is cracking. Yes, come again, please.
if you want us to read the slides while you're teaching, you could ask our help. One of us could read the slides for you. That would
The
help.
only problem, Mataji, is first canto is a very long canto. It's virtually a book in itself. And to make an overview is not very easy. And at the end, if you look at it, the first lecture, which was taken last Saturday, had 69 slides. And this lecture had 45 slides. So time always remains as a constraint. Otherwise, I love that we have the participation and we have one-on-one lecture, one-on-one discussion, because that is the best form of teaching and learning. But since I need to finish in 3 lectures, and in a way it is true that more than that time cannot be given, because the questions may be asked between 3 to 5 or 7 questions. For that, you need 3 hours of teaching. So I'm trying to concentrate on the areas which are frequently asked and then separate them. You are very right, Mataji. I would love to see that you people read the slide and I then comment on it. It's much easier for you to understand. But unfortunately, time is not with us, Rupa Mataji. You forgive me for that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Surely, I'll share the slides. Anything else? Any revelation? Any question? Any queries? Any misunderstanding to be corrected?
Hare Krishna
Well, if there are-
Prabhuji.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Prabhuji, I want to ask one thing. Is we were just
Yeah.
learning about Narad Muni. So what we were talking is about his last birth when he was a son of a maid servant. Then how
Yeah.
he came in this lifetime where he could roam around the whole globe, I mean, all the worlds.
Mataji,
This
actually,
is
if we look, yeah, yeah.
so that is not clear. This is another birth.
Well,
No,
yeah,
last birth
Mataji,
he was.
actually, let, yeah, let me explain. In a proper birth, he was a Gandharva living in Gandharva Loka. And I explained about their attributes. They are beautiful people with a master of musics. But he was using the music for his own sense gratification very loudly and openly. That's when Prajapatis in the meetings got very annoyed and disturbed and then cursed him to become a Sudra. To complete this curse, he took birth as a Sudra, a son of a maid servant in a house. And that's when the whole life is described. In the childhood only, he came into contact with Bhakti Vedantis. These are the people who travel, and they've spent Chaturmas of monsoon at one place. So these Bhakti Vedantis were staying at a house where his mother was working as a maid servant. So he got an opportunity to mix with Bhakti Vedantis and serve them. He was a small boy. He could have played and enjoyed his life. Instead, he kept serving very sincerely all the Bhakti Vedantis and take their instructions. With their permission, he also took their remnant of the food as prasadam once in a day. And thus, Bhakti Vedantis gave him knowledge and ultimately a liberation with devotional service instructions, and Narad Muni became perfect and realized soul. He completed everything in one life, and that's when, with the Lord's mercy, he changed his material body at the time of his death and got a spiritual body. Whatever he has been doing since then is with his spiritual body. So whatever pastimes of Narad Muni that we are hearing are with his spiritual body and not material body. Does that make some sense, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, it is very clear now. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much.
Hare, Hare Krishna. Any other question? We have some time. Well, if there are no other questions, thank you very much, all of you devotees, for attending the class. You've been very actively participating now, and I'm very happy about it. Vacha Kalpatarubhashya. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Hare Krishna to everyone. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much
Dandavat
for a nice
pranam.
lecture.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam to all of you.